Hi everybody, Matthew Turnage here. Well, I had planned a video for last week, but unfortunately what I wanted to talk about was something that I had coming in on an order that the U.S. Postal Service has been sitting on for the last week for no apparent reason that I can discern. So I was thinking about what to do instead. I was thinking about all the buildup we're starting to go through now for the Beatles Get Back documentary coming to Disney Plus over Thanksgiving. I'm very excited about that. I'm sure many of you are too. And then also the other day I saw a great video from Calico Silver where he was comparing the Let It Be album to Abbey Road and going side by side or track by track, comparing the two albums. And I really enjoyed that video. Check it out if you haven't seen it. But I thought, maybe this would be a good time to do a review of the Beatles' Let It Be album, the original album, as we're getting ready for this great documentary and still enjoying the box set that came out a few weeks ago. All right, so Let It Be, this was an album I've mentioned before in my other videos. It was after I got out of college, sometime around the year 2000 or so. So I was kind of delving into more 60s type rock, before I'd listened to a lot of 70s and 80s rock and metal, and then, stuff that was current in the 90s all through my high school and college years. But as I started wanting to I dipped my toe into some of that older stuff, and then I decided, I really need to get deep into the catalogs of some bands like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and all that, and I really got into the Beatles big time around that time. And so it was in that period that I bought Let It Be, and I think Let It Be was one of the later ones that I got. And I was severely underwhelmed by it when I first got it back then. And over the years, I didn't listen to it a ton. Every now and then I might pop it in, especially if I just wanted to listen through all the albums. But mostly I avoided it. And then probably within the last, I would say, 2 years or so, I've listened to it a little bit more, and it's been growing on me. In my rankings video, I mentioned that it ranked higher than it would have just a few years ago. And so I'd like to just go through the tracks and kind of talk about them a little bit and how my opinions of this album have changed a little bit over the years. So, of course, we open up with Two of Us, Paul McCartney tune. Really fun looking at the Paul's thoughts about that in his recent lyrics book. Two of Us was a track that sometimes people want to read that as comment about John and Paul's relationship at the time and the friendship, and kind of looking back maybe a little bit and where they are now or were then at the time. Paul has consistently over the years and in the lyrics book also talks about how that song is about him and Linda. And I really think it fits their relationship at the time. It was a relatively new relationship at the time. Paul was falling in love with Linda, of course, just a few months after the Let It Be Get Back sessions. They got married. But it's a nice tune. It's a really good song. It's an interesting way to open the album. The Beatles never really stuck to this formula, but I always, for me personally, I like albums that open up with a kind of more of a up-tempo rocker type tune. Sometimes you can vary from that and get good results. But the Beatles did it a few times with, like A Hard Day's Night, for example, or Please Please Me, the White Album, just off the top of my head, some albums that start up with some up-tempo rockers. Two of Us is a bit up tempo, but it's not like a hard rocker, you know what I mean? But it's a good song, and this is one. Well, let me just say this in general. Side one, back when I first got this album, I was very underwhelmed with, and I still think it's probably the weaker of the two sides, but Two of Us is a song that has grown on me. I appreciate it, and kind of knowing more now over the years as I've learned more about Paul and Linda's relationship and kind of seeing the song in that context, I appreciate it a bit more. Next up, we've got Dig a Pony. Nice riff, and that's a good rocker too from John. But it doesn't really. It's not one of John's best songs. It's an okay song for me. I know some people love it. To me, it's just okay. Then third up, we get Across the Universe, which is a great John tune. Of course, it dates from before these sessions. They kind of resurrected it for this album, but it's a really good song and done well. I think I prefer this version to the Wildlife version. I think Phil Spector did a good job with it. It's a classic. I Me Mine. It's a good George song. I like the rocking bit in the middle, but it's it is a bit. It doesn't really have a whole lot to it. Spector had to edit in a repeat to get it to be more than a minute and a half long. So good song, but I thought George did better than that one on all of his tracks for the White Album. Dig It is useless pretty much. I mean, it's a nice for the concept of the album, showing the Beatles working on a project and building up the project. It fits better, I think, probably with the original concept from Glenn Johns' Get Back album than it maybe does here. But I suppose even with the idea of this being a soundtrack album, it's fine. I guess the best thing about it is it's only 50 seconds long. There's really nothing to it. Let It Be, of course, is an absolute classic. It's one of the best songs Paul ever wrote, and it's such a great track. The only problem here for me is I much prefer the single version to the album version. I know some people feel differently. I think the guitar solo on the single version is better. I prefer the guitar tone. I think on the single version, George is playing through a Leslie speaker, and I like that guitar tone. I think it suits the song better than the more kind of the harsher, slightly more overdriven tone that he's got on the album version. Plus, one of the things I really like in that section on the single version. Well, Billy Preston is playing a bit. There's a little keyboard lick that he plays going where as it transitions into the guitar solo section, which is a really cool. It's just about 3 or 4 notes as it goes into the guitar solo that you hear on the single version that I always thought was really cool. And it's a really kind of bluesy, and it's a great kind of, for me, it's a really great transition going into that guitar solo. You can't hear it on the album version. George steps all over it. He comes in slightly earlier with the guitar solo, and with that more kind of raunchy guitar sound, it completely buries that little fun thing that Billy Preston does. So that's part of why I don't like it too. It's a fine solo, but it's the guitar tone and the way he steps over Billy Preston's little thing that bother me. It's not to say I can't listen and enjoy this. It's just that I prefer the single version, and every time I get to that guitar solo, I always think, man, it's better on the single version. So, so that's just a little knock against the album version. And then we close side one with Maggie May, which is unlike Dig It. I kind of enjoy Maggie May. It's a fun little bit of just to kind of maybe lighten the mood a little bit after Let It Be. Inject a little more tongue-in-cheek to it to close out side one. So Maggie May is fine. It's just a little, but it's basically a little filler bit, isn't it? Side two now is much better. I've got a feeling that's a song that when I first heard this album, it was okay, and maybe it made a difference to at the time, because when I first got the album, I got the CD first, and so when you're listening to it on a CD, it's not the start of side two, it's just in the middle of a sequence. So it's kind of, maybe it's because it's kind of gets buried in the middle there. But for whatever reason, I've got a feeling, I thought it was fine, but it didn't really grab me. But it's one of those songs that here in the last, like I said, in the last couple of years as I've been revisiting this album, I don't know if you guys ever experienced this, but sometimes, you'll hear a song, and you may hear it dozens of times, and, it's fine. And then all of a sudden you hear it one day, and maybe it's because you're older or whatever, I don't know what. but it just strikes your ear in a different way, and you all of a sudden you think, man, this song is awesome. Why wasn't I loving this song before? I don't know. You just connect with it differently all of a sudden. I don't know why. Um, I don't know if you've ever had that happen, but it's happened to me with a few songs, and I've got a feeling it's one of those songs. Because when I listen to it now, I think, man, this is a killer song. How did I not love this song from the first time I've heard it? But it's a great song. It's one of the highlights of the album for me. Love that tune, and I can't wait to see them playing it on the rooftop in the Get Back documentary here in just a couple weeks. One After 909, of course, is an early song that they revived for this album, and it's a fun rocker in the early Beatles style. I like Billy Preston's contributions to this track too. Billy Preston really does do a great job on this album, and he really, of course, the Beatles talked about what he brought to the sessions, but the actual performances too, beyond just his presence, is a key part of this album for me. The Long and Winding Road, of course, is one of Paul's great ballads. It's a tremendous song. I love this song. For the first time I heard it, I think I would have first heard it probably when I got the Blue album. I don't remember hearing it like on the radio or anything before I got the Blue album, back when I was in college, and immediately loved it. As I listen to it now and kind of know what Paul thought about it, yeah, Spector did overdo it a little bit, I think. But I still think the album version works well. I think it's a great song. For You Blue, to me, is the better of the two George songs on here. I think, love the, I don't know, I can go back and forth on those two. Sometimes it depends on how the mood strikes me. But as I'm recording this video right now, I think For You Blue is a little bit better. It's fun. It's got a great little, slide guitar bit in there. And it's just a fun bit of business there from George. And of course, we close out the album with Get Back. Get Back is probably in my top 2 or 3 Beatles songs of all time. I love it. I just love the energy of it, the groove of it. Ringo is amazing on this track. Simple, but just it really lays down a groove and sets the mood. Great guitar work from John throughout the track. It's a fun song to sing along to. Again, this is a case where I prefer the single version just because I love how, the single version kicks back in with that coda, that tag at the end. And again, that groove, and just a few more seconds, another minute or so of the Beatles grooving on that song is great. But I do understand why Spector went with the shorter version on the album. Because I think just if you're looking at it in terms of a song, or for the single, the longer version is definitely the way to go. But in terms of putting it in the context of this album, and again also thinking of the album as a soundtrack album, for the purposes of the album, I think it really does work to go with the shorter version, because that lets Spector add on the bit from the end of the rooftop. I always love the thanks Mo, when you hear Maureen Starkey give out that cheer there at the end, and of course John's famous hope we pass the audition speech is great. So again, is it one of my absolute favorite Beatles albums? No. I don't remember now offhand where I placed it in my Beatles ranking. It was somewhere in near the upper end of the bottom half, I think. A little bit below the halfway mark, but somewhere in that range. And I think I would still feel that same way if I ranked them again today. Of course, when you rank albums like that over time, is depending on whatever mood you're in, things can move up and down. I said it in that video, but I still think Let It Be would probably fall somewhere in that range. But it's an album that I do appreciate more and more over the years, and I am really looking forward to the Get Back documentary in a few weeks. I never did a review of the Let It Be deluxe box set. Just a quick word about that. I thought Giles did a good job of the mix. He kind of kind of like Sergeant Pepper, although Sergeant Pepper was a much better job overall. But he kind of spreads it out a little bit, spreads the song. It gives you a little more separation in the mix to kind of hear things a bit. And so I appreciate that. With all these, I mean, the original is going to always be my go-to, but I think Giles did a good job for an alternative listening experience. The outtakes are great to have. I think they did a good job of selecting those. Perhaps they could have put more tracks on there for the CD and not felt the need to have the CDs and the LPs exactly duplicated, but that's fine. I think they did a good job with those constraints. And the Get Back album is awesome to have. I totally understand why it was not released at the time. I think it's great as a bonus. It's another alternate version. Having it as the album, I think, would have been a mistake. I think they made the right choice waiting. I think as an album to be the album, this is the best one. But Get Back, like Let It Be Naked, I think is a fun bonus to have, is sort of a what if kind of thing. So great box set to have as a companion to the album. The album is, again, not one of their very best, but certainly a very good album. It says a lot about the quality of the Beatles material when you can put out an album like Let It Be that's got some absolute stone cold classics on it, like the title track, Get Back, Long and Winding Road, I've Got a Feeling, Across the Universe, and still say, maybe it doesn't measure up to their best. Tells you how far ahead of everybody else they were at the time. So still very much worth having, very much worth giving regular spins to. And so that's my review of Let It Be. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.